Hello folks, hope you're having a wonderful middle of your week. Northern Exile here. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below, the Patreon button is also down below if you want to be involved in the prize draw that is taking place this Sunday. That is Sunday, the 2nd of July. All you need to do is be a member of the Patreon or head on over down below to become a member of the channel. Do either of those two things and you will be entered into the prize draw this Sunday. We're going to be doing a nice live stream. The times will be up on the channel towards the weekend. Doing a really cool live stream where we're going to be doing the prize draw and a lot of gaming, and hopefully we can do some stuff for charity on that day as well. That'll be awesome. So, what you can win is £50 worth of free models from Composite Games. We'll get that sent to you wherever you are in the world. If they can't send it to you for any reason, they will send it to me, and I will send it to you at my own expense as a thank you for supporting the channel. So, Patreon down below, or become a member of the channel. Either of those two things, you can get on there and do all that kind of fun stuff, and all of it is there for you. Good stuff. And all of my videos from today, because I wanted to create a little bit of a backlog so I could upload a few at the same time, will be available on Patreon free of ads. They're free of ads. There's no ads on Patreon, so if you go on there, you don't get any ads. Anyway, lovely stuff. Moving on. DBD says, "Hey North, I recently found your channel a couple of months ago whilst browsing 40k content in hospital. Oh, I hope you're alright, man." He says, "I fell down the stairs and broke my leg. Has been nasty, but a good excuse to paint and listen to content." That's good. If you're gonna get anything to do with hospital, dude, the best thing to do is something to do with your legs. Touch wood and nothing happens to me. But, you know, a broken leg, yeah, it's gonna heal properly. You know, you're in hospital, but at least you're there. At least you can get around. At least you can, you know, it gives you an excuse to paint some models, which is good. But, like, yeah, that sucks. I hope you're feeling better. "I finally gotten through your Hobby Nightmares content and thought it was only right to throw my own nightmares into the mix. So, a few years back, I used to work for Games Workshop. First as relief staff for multiple years, and then as a full employee for the best part of a year. I'd been in the hobby for almost 15 years, since I was quite young. And I had a wealth of knowledge about lore, minis, and other things, which helped a lot in the day-to-day interactions with customers. My nightmare I'm feeling today isn't one incident, but more of a continuous nightmare I'm still having to deal with, but want some advice on. It's not your usual topic, but hope you can help. Essentially, the issue I experience is people always seem to assume that I have zero knowledge of the hobby, or that I am very new. For some added context that I think is relevant, if not the reason for this nightmare, I am non-binary, but quite obviously visually a female. I've been told this even when I'm wearing my suits or typically more masculine clothing." Alright, cool. So I'm guessing you have quite a... What's the figure called? A gauche figure? Is that what it's called? Curvy? Curvy. Flat tummy and curves. I've heard it described as gauche. I'm not sure. But yeah, even if you wear a suit, you're looking like a woman. But the thing is, though, you have to forgive men for this on one part, because every red-blooded male I know can see a female figure through an Eskimo suit, right? If we can just tell if someone's a woman just from, like, you know, a long way away. It's good. Yeah, that's a woman. Sometimes we get it wrong, you know, if there is an exception to the rule. But 9 times out of 10, if we see a woman walking down the street, you could be wearing a bin bag and a mask on your head, and we all know you're a woman. It's crazy. I don't know how they do it, but yeah. This was something that used to frustrate me a lot when customers assumed they knew better than me, and would often try and get advice on painting or lore from my male colleague, who was actually a beginner to the hobby and was just bouncing between retail positions after I'd given them advice. This would also happen when I was doing intro games or lessons. Yeah, okay, so before I go any further, I'm going to read the rest of this, obviously, but before I go any further, yeah, I can see this happening. I can see. The thing is, right, so the norms of treating a woman as equal in terms of the normal workplace, you know, in terms of, like, treating her as if she knows just as much as your male colleagues, that's only just gaining traction. Let's be honest. Let's be honest, guys. You know me. I come down on your side a lot. I do. But I've worked in a lot of places, and yeah, you know, women were seen as You didn't listen to them as stringently as you did to the men. You assumed the guy was in charge, right? Happens all the time, and everybody has a slip. There's nothing wrong with having a slip every now and again. As long as you recognise it and move on, you're fine, right? But the nerddom in all aspects, especially something like Warhammer, which is very, very, very niche, is way behind the 8 ball. So anything that happens in mainstream in terms of social standing and stuff like that, Warhammer's behind it by a good couple of years. So I can imagine, and plus Warhammer people do not have any backwards turn, so they will literally give you their opinion and go, yeah, what do you think, dude? You know, if they don't think your opinion's very good, they'll go to somebody else. Now, here's the thing, DVD. Here's the thing. Sometimes I completely get what you're saying, and I completely believe you, but sometimes there will be people who don't like your opinion, or who don't quite agree with what you just said. So they'll look for somebody who agrees with what they think, so they've got an excuse to take the hobby in their own direction, right? That happened to me when I was working at GW, and I'm a dude, right? It would happen all the time. Like, I would give in a bit of advice, and then I'd go to another staff member to get another bit of advice that they preferred, and then they would act on that advice. Sometimes I would be that other staff member, where somebody would come over to me and say, oh, Steve over there said so-and-so, what do you think? And I'll say, oh, well, I think this. And they go, oh, I agree with that more, I'm going to do that, right? Happened all the time. So sometimes it's not because you're a woman. Just like, it's like the Tywin Lannister thing, right? I don't distrust you because you're a woman, I distrust you because you're not half as clever as you think you are. I'm not saying that about you, I'm saying that about, you know, that sentiment rings true. Some people don't give a shit if you're a woman or not. They just don't agree with you, or they want a second opinion. Just is what it is. I've got not a colleague, but a friend who's a doctor, and she said for ages when a patient wanted a second opinion, she would get actually offended, because she's like, what? Because I'm a woman, you don't think I can do my job? And at the end of the day, that's not what they're saying. What they're saying is they want a second opinion. You know, it took other female colleagues to say, look, no, that's not what they're doing. They want a second opinion because they want a second opinion. And they deserve a second opinion if it's something really serious. And, you know, I think that's where we are as well. Sometimes they're just not going to agree with you. But I do agree, most of the time, dudes will generally go, this woman doesn't know what she's talking about, moving on. This still happens now that I've left Games Workshop, and there have been a couple of times where I lived with someone who would ask me for a game, clearly thinking that I was an easy mark, only to be royally pissed off when I've got double their points by turn 3. Well, I'll be pleasantly surprised, you know? Pleasantly surprised. In fact, if there's a woman in my life, if I'm single and there's a woman in my life and she's like, hey, do you want to play some Warhammer? And I'm thinking, oh my god, I'm going to deck this person. But I'm like, alright, yeah, cool, we'll play. And then she tables me. That woman instantly goes up on the attraction scale. Like, instantly, you're just like, wow, you know how to do this, that's cool. I love the hobby, and I used to go to a lot of tournaments back pre-COVID, and was actually quite a high-ranked player on best coast pairings back in 8th. Best coast pairings? I don't know what that means. But this has really worn me down over the past few years. These days I tend to play Crusade with a group of friends, or casual friends with people I know, but I do miss going to tournaments and picking up games, both of which I've mostly stopped after a few bad experiences with salty or demeaning opponents since trying out games post-COVID. That sucks. That sucks. Yeah, I'm really, really sorry you had to go through that. That sucks. I can only imagine, right? I can only imagine like being at a table and having somebody demean your games. But if you've watched all the content, right? If you've watched all the content, you know this happens to guys as well. It's just you get more of it because you're a lady, unfortunately. I'd love to know your advice about the situation. With the release of 10th imminent, I'm hoping maybe I can get back into my stride. I don't really know what to do to bring back the fun in pick-up games and going to tournaments. My only thought has been maybe to tell people I've been in the hobby for many years when I meet them, but that just feels conceited. Thank you very much, and look forward to hearing your advice. P.S. I've attached some photos of my minis, as I'm pretty proud of my painting. I would love your thoughts there too. Let's have a little look, shall we? I don't think you're on this part. You're on that part over there. I do have some advice, by the way. I'm just going to get your models up first. Or are they already up? Let's have a little look-see. I think they are. Ooh. I've done something good for a change. I've done something good for a change. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Where are we? Hobby Nightmares pics. Here we go. Yeah, cool. So here is a Space Marine, I'm guessing. The back of a Space Marine, anyway. I love the detail. I love the detail. That's really well painted. Jesus. That's really well painted. I like that. I like that a lot. Let's go again. The side profile. Okay. Nice, nice. Yes, like it, like it. Dude, you're a very good painter. This is beautiful stuff. I'm sorry if you're listening to this in the car. Could you, like, just get on with the story? Because you can't see this, but, you know. I think it's quite cool. That's amazing. That's lovely. Look at that. That's really nice. Look at those. Wow, you're making my painting games seem really bad by comparison. That's fine. They're amazing, dude. Well done. I'm only going to show them. I'm going to leave them on for a little bit while I do the rest of your story, but that's amazing. That's awesome. Well done. Love the colours. So, advice. I think the fact that you're saying that's conceited means that you've got a very good head on your shoulders. So I'm going to take it as read that you're telling the truth here. Sometimes I try and see it both ways. When people say there's intolerance in the hobby, I go, well, is it intolerance or is it this? You know? And so I like to protect my hobby. I like the people in the hobby. And I like to believe that most of the people in the hobby aren't people who are going to ream you out just for being a woman, right? But I firmly believe that you are telling the truth on this one, because you seem quite, not self-loathing, but self-deprecating in a good way. You come across as like somebody who relates to their own mistakes, which is fine. There's really not much I can do, dude, apart from say, cultivate the groups around you who treat you well. Anybody who treats you poorly in this hobby, don't play them. Don't give them the satisfaction of a game. If you go to an event and somebody makes you feel uncomfortable, or somebody's having a go at you because you're a woman, or throwing conceited remarks at you, challenge it. Say, listen, I don't appreciate that remark. Okay? I know I'm a woman, but I'm just here trying to play the hobby. I don't appreciate that remark. Can we carry on in a sporting manner, please? If they do it again, pick up your models and leave. Just leave. No tournament or event is worth you getting abused at all. Just pick up your models and leave. Go to the next game. And if it keeps happening, keep pointing it out. And then call a judge over. Say, look, this has happened 4 times now. This happened 4 times now. I'm not happy, you know? I'm going to tell you now, it won't happen that way. You know what the hobby's like. You've been here long enough. You know, maybe 1 game in 5, 1 game in 6 will you know, have a gamer in it who's going to treat you this way. So challenge it. Do not stand there. Do not stand in the fire and complain it's hot, is what I'm saying. Challenge it, and if they won't change, pick up your models and move on. No hobby, no event, no tournament standing is worth you getting upset and annoyed and ruining your day over it. It's just not. Right? You're categorically missing what the hobby is for if you're letting it stress you out. Secondly, cultivate the groups around you who make you feel good. If you get people who don't treat you like shit, or who don't demean you for being a woman in the gaming space, then make sure you cultivate the people around you who are making you feel good. Man, woman, non-binary, doesn't matter. Go and cultivate those people. Go and hang out with those people. Hang out with people who make you feel good. Okay? I love the fact that you haven't come in here with some politically charged BS, because I don't like that on the channel. But yeah, the amount of people who are on the far right and far left, I know, because I know quite a few, because from my university time and from, you know, the way I've been working in the hobby and stuff. The amount of people who are miserable because they're around like-minded people who are on the far left or far right. The minute they go and actually cultivate actual people who like them for being them, they lose all of their extremist values. They just go. They just disappear overnight. It's ridiculous how easy it happens. You introduce them to people who say, oh, you're a pretty cool dude. Then immediately they're like, oh, yeah, thanks. So are you. Like, okay, cool. What, you're gay? Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's fine. You know, you're nice to me. And as soon as you break that down with somebody, they stop being miserable. So what you need to do, I'm not saying you're in one of these two camps, because you're obviously, I don't think you are. But if you're in a toxic environment, if you're in an environment that's not making you happy, recognize it and go and find one that does. And it seems like you've already done it on a base level. You've already got a group there who you like and you play games with. That's great. Cultivate that, grow that. And as soon as you meet somebody at a tournament or an event who makes you feel nice, who you're having a good time with, who treats you nicely, who treats you like a bro, basically, like everyone else, cultivate that person. Say, hey man, I'd love to have a game again. That was really fun. That was really fun. Get games in with people that you like to game. And say at the end of the game, look, at the end of my first game with somebody, I always like to think, would I play them again? I'd definitely like to play you again. So, do you want to join this Discord or join this WhatsApp group, and we can all get games on and do that sort of a thing? Cultivate those groups and grow them. Right? Ignore the negative, cut it away, and accentuate the positive. Is what I would say to you. So, and with people having like condescending you in your job and shit like that's something that's just going to be there. I can't tell you how to avoid that, because listen, you have to remember, right? I'm a straight white male in this, right? I'm not you. So and this is like me trying to tell a black dude how to combat racism. I don't know how to combat it, because I'm not you, right? I've not put up with the same shit you have in your life. So I'm going to leave that one alone. But the gaming stuff I can definitely help with, and hopefully that's helped. And if you need any games or you need any more advice, feel free to email me and talk. Also, let me know how you did the blue on those Marines, because that was pretty cool. I like to do that. Because I'm looking for a new paint scheme for a new Space Marine chapter, a small one that I'm going to do for 10th edition. Anyway, moving on. Andrew says, I may as well take these down now. Amazing models though, well done. Andrew says, hi North, my name's Andrew. Please don't tell me not to use your real name after naming yourself. Please don't tell me to do that. My name's Andrew, and I just thought I'd say beforehand how much your videos helped me through my day. Okay, good. I've been a long-time viewer and love them. Keep them coming. No problem, man. So I need to take a swig of tea there. Although I watch a lot of your videos, I'm still quite new to the gaming side of the hobby, as I'm only 17, and live in quite a remote area where 40k isn't popular at all. This is a story about how my very first game of 40k in a public setting went against a stranger who are not just with friends messing around in the recruit edition, which is all I had previously done. Okay, so for context, this happened just last weekend at a convention I decided to attend. It was very close to where my sister lives, whom I am visiting and staying over with. It had been announced that there would be a 40k free play at it, in which you could just roll up with your army and hopefully find someone to play with. Right, I'm just gonna have a little cough and a sip of tea here. There we go. It had been announced that there would be a 40k free play in which you could just roll up with your army and hopefully find someone to play with. Lovely stuff. More tournaments should do that. There was also a tournament on which I had no chance of competing in, because you had to have 2,000 points, which my little guard combat patrol and I had nowhere close to, but I didn't mind anyway. I was just there to dip my toe into the water of the competitive atmosphere, so to speak. At home before I left, I managed to fit my guard patrol in a cardboard box along with the codex and core rules, and stuffed all into my bag. It looked stupidly big, but it did the trick and kept my hands nice and free as I walked across the convention hall. I arrived and passed by a volunteer in the building's main doorway who told me 40k was taking place in the upstairs of the building. I proceeded and then reached the 40k zone and I froze. I realised I have zero idea what I'm doing. I started to really question what I was doing there. I realistically knew nothing about my army or the game. I knew nobody there. WTF are even stratagems, and why are there 100 of them? I really felt like just leaving. There were 8 tables laid out, with only 2 free, as the rest were being used by the tournament. Everybody was busy with their games, and me, not really knowing what to do, just decided to begin spectating, and I guess hoping I'd learn a thing or two. There was only 2 or 3 people spectating the games with me. After a couple of minutes of feeling like an idiot for showing up, an absolute saviour, a young enough guy, I'd say around 22 or so, approached me and asked if I was there for free play. I told him yes, and he said he was as well. An opponent had approached me. I began awkwardly and embarrassingly explaining to him that I was pretty new and only knew the basics of the game, not knowing if he'd still like to play, as he might have had to babysit me or just straight up change his mind and say no. Okay, fair enough. Okay, he didn't mind and asked me how many points my guard were, and I guessed around 380-ish. In response, he just took out the same in Adeptus Mechanicus. He said 10th edition's release was soon. We won't use any stratagems or special rules and whatnot, as they basically won't exist in a new edition. Oh, how wrong you are. The stratagems as they are don't exist, yes, but there will be stratagems in the new edition. Loads of them. We agreed to just use the datasheets. I was so relieved and happy. My first match ever was about to be a chill, small practice battle with a much more experienced player who was really friendly. He let us use 3 of his bigger models he wasn't using, he brought 2,000 points worth, as objective markers, which was really nice of him. He explained some niche rules that I got a little wrong, and gave me some tips and tricks throughout the game. The game was great and quite exciting, as my field ordnance unit was the only thing hitting, and my only hope against this tough army. In the end, I actually won, all due to objective secured, a rule he explained to me which allowed me to win. I had to go shortly after. We had a little chat about the game, so I didn't get to do a rematch, but I didn't even have to compete again to know I've joined the right hobby for me. From all the horror nightmares I've heard and stereotypes I've seen, I was amazed by the top quality Chad I encountered. I went to visit my sister, who was also attending the con, and told her of the great time I'd had. Like, what a fucking legend. I don't know if I am hyping him up too much, but that guy made my entire day. Can't wait for 10th edition and to get right into it and compete more often when I have the chance. Okay, guys, this is why I get so upset at people targeting newbies for notches on their win post. This is why I get annoyed at them. Look at the change around in this guy's perspective. He's gone in, he's terrified, he's thinking, I might just leave, this isn't really for me. It takes one hobbyist to come in, go on his level and say, okay, how many points do you have? 380, 500. Okay, let's do 500. Cool. And not only that, he tells him the rules that he needs to know. And I bet you this guy could have won. I'm telling you now, I bet you this guy, this hobby Chad guy, could have won that game by doing objective secured. But he wants to teach this young lad how to do objective secured. So he teaches him how to do it, he shows him how to do it, and then he asks him to show an example of his understanding. And in the example of his understanding, what's his reward? He wins the game. Positive reinforcement. I bet you this guy was either a teacher or somebody who's going to be one in the future. Brilliant stuff. You don't need to be a teacher, though, to be a cool guy and just play a level on somebody's level. Play a game on somebody's level. If a guy comes to you and says, look, I'm really new, do you want a game? Yeah, how many points do you have? And if he says 500, 380, whatever, just do that, dude. It takes you half an hour to do a game that way. And some of the smaller games out there are some of the most fun I've ever had. This is why it's so important to cultivate good people in the hobby. This lad is in this for life now. This doesn't let go. Any of you sitting there who's into the hobby know that this doesn't let go. This hobby bug never leaves. It may go dormant for a year or two, but it always comes back. He's in it for life now. And this guy's done that. He's grown the hobby. He's poured more water into the bucket. Remember our analogy that Games Workshop use? When they have a bucket with holes in the bottom of it? And there's a big tap pouring water into the bucket. People are always leaving the hobby out the bottom. And it's our responsibility, they said, to pour more water into that bucket to make sure that we keep the hobby going. Well, it's not just their responsibility. We've got a bigger bucket, and it's called ourselves and our own conduct. If we do that, if we do what this guy does, this hobby never goes away. Doesn't matter what game you're playing. Could be War Machine, could be something you picked up at a local con that you've just put in your bag to go home with, I don't know. Or it could be at Warhammer, it could be anything. We need to cultivate these kinds of behaviour because they're so essential to keeping the hobby going. Thank you, Andrew, for pointing that out. The rest of it is just thank you, but thank you, Andrew, for pointing that out. Fantastic, very well done. There's no problem with it. No, it was great, thank you. Robbie says, let me check on our time here. Yep, we're fine. Robbie says, I felt like sharing some positivity and perhaps humour in the hobby series. As I mentioned before, I've had a pretty good time lately, not counting the Necromunda incident. People have been helping me learn Sisters of Battle since I amassed a large army of them, and I have also been playing Kill Team as Deathwatch since I love their lore. their models and kill team. While not super interesting perhaps to say, yeah, things have been fun and going good, there was a bit of weirdness. Not really a horror story, more of a confusing annoyance. Okay. There was an issue during a game of Kill Team where I was playing Deathwatch against my friend's Tau. Some background context is important, since a long-running joke is involved. First off, something I've had in my mind for nearly 10 years now is an old tweet from one of Games Workshop's writers when asked about the canon in the 40k universe. He basically said that the 40k universe has the warp, cloning, Orwellian info control, all that jazz. So if it happens to be on the tabletop, it's canon, and has some plausible explanation for it in the lore, i.e. how did I kill Gilliman in my game? That was a clone, or an imposter, or a warp-displaced doppelganger. Stuff like that. Okay, cool. Well, in mine, if you kill a Primarch in the game, he doesn't die. He just goes down, right? He just goes down under a hail of bolter fire or whatever, and is pulled away by his men, essentially, right? The men that you can't see on the battlefield. Remember that, remember 40k isn't, what you're seeing isn't the complete battle. You're playing one small part of a huge battle that's going on around you in your mind, where Gilliman is and where the Lion is, right? You're playing in the part where they are, if they're in your army, right? And if they go down, they're dragged away by people, or a Thunderhawk comes in and gets them the hell out of there, that kind of thing. That's what I do anyway, in my own head. In Necromunda, there are campaign events you roll for between rounds. One of those events involves the Imperial Fist showing up and looking for recruits from the various gangs to be taken away for Space Marine trials. You then see if they succeed in the trials to become Space Marines. One thing that my Tau friend and I noticed in a Necromunda campaign was how there was no asterisk that excludes Eschers from the trial process. Ooh. I was playing an Escher gang, one kit bashed with some of his spare Tau. The in-universe explanation is that they knocked over a shipment of weapons marked with a big red I for important, and found these weird weapons and armor pieces inside. I attached a pic of my gang if you want to show them. I might not be able to find the... let's see if I can find it. Is it around here somewhere? La la la. No, can't find it. I will come back though. I will come back. Okay. One of my gangers, named Ramona, was offered up for Space Marine training. Okay. Along with members of the other 4 gangs in our campaign. We rolled and Ramona passed all the trials to become a member of the Imperial Fists. Regarding the aforementioned tweet above, this sent us all into a fit of laughter, as we had just created the first canonical female Space Marine, and she was a daughter of Dawn. Now, I thought about this later on, considered getting some Imperial Fists to play Kill Team, however, I don't really want all that garish yellow. No offense, Sons of Dawn, it's just not my colour. So, when I got my Deathwatch squad, I made 1 Imperial Fists. The lore my friends made up was that Ramona became a Space Marine, which shocked pretty much everybody, partly because it shouldn't be possible, mostly because it went against the known facts and thus was heresy, so instead of being in the Imperial Fist as Ramona Knox, she was sent away to the chapter's tribute to the Deathwatch, a sort of banishment, justifying it by saying she had experience with xenotechnology, the Tau stuff, and thus was an ideal Deathwatch tribute. One of the bits I put on the Marine model was also a chalice, and she was known as Brother Chalice. This is a reference to Catholic symbolism, something that, as a passing appearance to 40k, you might have noticed, where chalices are associated with femininity. Okay. Now, all of this is something known only to me and 4 other friends of mine, who I've told about this, and now you. During a game of Kill Team, when we would measure shots and movements, we wouldn't think about it, but would refer to Brother Chalice with female pronouns because of the long-running in-joke. However, an onlooker decided to take umbrage, of course they did, with that, and butted into our private game to rant about the lore and how female Marines are impossible and all that crap. This game didn't involve him, we weren't talking to him, we weren't making our business to anybody else's issue in there, and he just started autistically rambling at us. Instead of trying to explain the last several paragraphs to him, I just asked if he actually planned to do anything about it. He went back to talking shit, and I told him that if he wanted me to stop, he would have to make me stop gaming. He scoffed, shook his head, and left to go watch another table. He probably he's probably going to go over there and like call you like a raging lefty or something without actually realising the context. I have dealt with so many fucking neckbeards trying to tell me what to like and who complain about my models who are painted or custom lore or the fact that I like parts of the setting others don't, namely Xenos stuff. That I'm at the point where I just tell them to throw fists if they care that much, or fuck off. Yeah, I get what I don't threaten people with violence straight away, dude, but I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Your patience is at an end. I'm completely with you on that one. Your patience is at an end. You're done. I get you. I'm with you. Don't threaten people with violence if you can help it. But if you don't want to explain this to somebody, and you're sick of explaining it, right? And you've gone down every avenue with these neckbeards, saying what you said probably will get them to walk away. Say, look, mate, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Because 99% of neckbeards won't do anything. And the ones who do, you'll probably be able to slap away with one hand. So, yeah, I guess it's a good way of doing it. It's just being like, yeah, please go away. Right? You know, that's the thing. Or just tell them to go away. Say, look, dude, I don't know what your issue is. It's just a game. Go away. That's what you say. Look, dude, don't know what your issue is. It's just a game. Go away. Go away. Right? Get a life. Get something else in your life apart from Warhammer, right? Now, here's the thing though. Female Space Marines are not possible in 40k. And that is something that I believe should be sacrosanct, because they have their own things. They have Sisters of Battle, which, by the way, I think are better models than Space Marines, and they wear power armor. They're better models, hands down, than Space Marines. They're awesome. They have their own thing, right? I will die on that hill. I will die on that hill. There should not be female Space Marines in the official lore. But, if you've created something like this, and it's one female Space Marine, and it has this cool story behind it for you and your friends to have a laugh about, dude, make hay while the sun is shining. Who cares? Who cares? In the official lore, yes, female Space Marine should never, ever be a thing. Right? Because they've got their own thing already. They shouldn't be a thing. But if it's unofficial and it's just something you're fucking around with your friends, and it's one of them, and it's got a good backstory, and it's organically happened like it did for you when you rolled up those things in Necromunda, dude, love it, roll with it, have fun. You know, there's no reason why somebody should be coming. And for God's sake, guys, if someone's playing a game, don't butt in. Don't butt in. Don't do it. Commiserate with people, celebrate wins with people, have fun watching the game, but don't be giving your fucking opinion on what you're doing in the game. Don't. Just don't. It's not cool. Not cool. And that's not what I want the hobby to be about. It's not what anybody wants the hobby to be about. Don't be douchebags. Jimmy says, I have a hobby-related question and a life question for you today. Okay, let me take a sip of tea. This should be good. For the hobby question, I have recently gotten into Warhammer through the local Games Workshop run store. I started via the walk-in paint session, where you get the free Space Marine Intercessor and a very short guided paint session. From then on, for about a year or so, I continued to stop by the store to obtain the 3 monthly model/sample model, then promptly left each time without making a large purchase due to the unfamiliarity with the game's rules or specific direction I wanted to go in the hobby. Okay. I will say, these intro painting sessions shouldn't be short, because I used to use them to skive off. I used to use them. So I would be like, do you want a free painting session? Awesome, sit down. I'd sit down, I was off my feet, that's great, I was loving it, I was having a break, and I'd paint with them, and I'd talk about their life and why they're going to get into the hobby. I'd show them all these really cool techniques on one Space Marine, and then I'd say, yeah, do you want to do another one? Cool, we'll do one more. And my manager was always like, well, I guess you're getting people in the hobby, you know, it's fine, you know, it is what it is. And I would do things like that. What you have to remember is, just because you enjoy something, as a GW staff member doesn't mean that's not your job. What my manager used to kind of think, right, is that if I'm enjoying my job, I'm not doing it right. I should be working harder. No, I'm sorry, mate. Doing painting tutorials and gaming tutorials is part of my job, and it's one of the best parts of my job, and that's why I like doing it. Cool. Awesome. You know, especially when there's 3 of us in the store, and the other 2 can sell stuff, whilst one of us does a painting tutorial. Touch grass, dude. Anyway, moving on. Throughout the year, I've made small purchases. 2 pots of paint, a made-to-order metal Commissar Yarek, 3 copies of Imperium magazine, and had inquired about several products I wanted, but could not buy due to their extremely limited releases. Bandai Chibi releases, Space Marine Heroes, and most recently, the Leviathan box set that had sold out on release day here in America. Yeah. Can't believe people are having a go at me because I was saying it sold out on release day. Or there's certain stores that had already sold their allocation. Certain stores had already sold their allocation before release day. Pre-sold. Most of the stores I got in contact with pre-sold their Leviathans. They got 50 Leviathans in, they pre-sold 50 Leviathans. Gone. Done. So you go in on the day, you pick up your Leviathan box set. No one else gets one. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Anyway. At least in my local area. Fucking hell. On one occasion, put it this way, guys, if I wasn't as in with composite games as I am, I would not be getting Leviathan. Even though I really want one. I wouldn't be getting one. Because I can't find one. Right? Anyway. On one occasion, the store manager of the shop I always visit had made a snide remark. He said, "Here is your free model. That's what you're normally here for, right? I know you mentioned you had previously been a Games Workshop manager. Would you find offence in a customer obtaining free models and promptly leaving the store once a month? Am I doing something wrong in this hobby?" Okay, so, I'm going to finish reading this and then I'll answer it. I'm a little worried about being a toxic customer since I've been banned from a local Magic the Gathering store. Why? The store asked me to not do business with them as they found out I had liked some pro-Trump stuff in 2016. Seriously? However, I feel this was an excuse because leading up to it I had a 6-week winning streak at the local game store with a deck selection most people consider unfair. The Infect deck. I don't know what that means. I'm sure people will be sitting there in their car going, "What, you motherfucker?" Yeah, but I don't know what that is. As the weeks went on, a female Magic player increasingly grew more and more hostile with me, which brought more and more of her Orbiter friend-zoned types joining in on the hostility. The owner of the store defended me the first few weeks by trying to channel the hostility into sales. Why don't you purchase this single card to defeat the Infect deck? However, near the end of my time playing there, this became a less effective way to disperse the outrage. Jesus, dude. I'm gonna answer your question first and then come back to that, okay? So, okay. If this Games Workshop manager, he is in the wrong here. He is in the wrong. The Games Workshop manager is in the wrong, right? He shouldn't have said that to you. But if he's under pressure to sell things, and if you take up a lot of his time or his staff's time by talking to them, and you never buy anything, and even worse, you take something for free and you leave, I can see why he's annoyed. If it's been happening for months, I can see why he's annoyed. I can see why. Yeah, I can definitely see why. Now, is he right to say that to you? No, he's not. But if you're in there taking up his time in the store by asking him things, by asking his staff things, by taking valuable energy away from sales so they have to look after you for a while, and then you just pick up a free model and leave, then I can see why he's pissed off. If you just go in there, you get your free model, you say, "Thanks, man," and you leave, that's fine. That's fine. Because, like, no problem with that. That's completely fine behaviour, and he shouldn't have said that to you if that's the case. Because we can throw these things away to people on the street. In fact, when I was working for GW, my manager sent me out to do that. I went into the local shopping centre with a box of Space Marines, like a box of those single sprue Space Marines, right? And I'd give them to people with an invitation to come to the store and get an actual intro game. It was the most mortifying thing I've ever done in my life. Can you imagine being a nerd with a Games Workshop t-shirt on, standing in the middle of an actual shopping centre, which is mostly, let's be honest, 18 to 25-year-old women who are shopping there, and I'm standing there going, "Do you want a Space Marine? Ha!" Right, and then they're just looking at me like I've just grown another head on my forehead. Okay? That was horrible. I ended up, when I did it for I did it like 2 months, and I ended up just going to Mackey's. And I gave so many of the models away just to people passing by. Hey, I'll have a free model, have a free model. I'd go into Mackey's, and I'd be like, yeah. Anyone in here want a free Space Marine? There you go. And then, yeah, and the rest of them just went in my bag, and I was like, right, I'll take them home, I'll give them to my friends, I don't care. And so I have friends who have a unit of 10 intercessors, all in exactly the same pose. Because they're all made up of that one Marine. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, he's not right to say that to you. But I do get his frustration if you're taking up time in the store. Then I get his frustration. He still shouldn't have done it, but I get his frustration. Anyway, moving on. For the last several months, I've been just showing up every month to collect my free miniature out of sheer hard-headedness. However, I wanted to know if I'm being the arsehole in this situation. Well, dude, if you're being hard-headed, maybe, and you've got the money, maybe it's time to take the plunge and buy a small thing. You do have the money because you're buying different things in the hobby. Maybe give that store some patronage. If you go in there and you say to that manager, listen, man, getting these free models has been amazing for me, and it's been an awesome outlet. And you know what army you want to collect? I really love Yarrick. I want to collect something to do with Yarrick, like just an Imperial Guard squad. I want one squad, just something to start with. Wherever he tries to upsell you, say no, I just want the one squad, just to start with. I don't have that much money. As soon as you buy something from the store, his attitude is going to change like that. Bang, because you are now a paid customer, and you're giving him business, and you're there to make sure that his business goes on and is doing well. I had times at GW, right, when I would have days of selling one box. It was so quiet. I had days of selling one box. It was horrible, right? Those were hard times, dude. Those were hard times. We were in a recession. There was another store selling my products for 25% off, a few doors down. It was horrible. I hated it. But, you know, sometimes GW managers just need that. They need a win, essentially. So if you go in there and you give them a win, if you go in there and say, listen, or maybe you've got more money than I think you do, and you go, listen, I want to go in there and I want to buy an Imperial Guard box set, then do that. Make sure that you give patronage to the store that supported you. But, if he said that thing in a snide way, don't give him your patronage. Go elsewhere. And then come back with fully painted models. And then if he asks where you got them from, say, yeah, from Wayland Games. I got them from Composite Games. I got them from Composite Games because, yeah, they were nice to me. You know? Yes. Just do that, right? That's what I would do in your situation. You're not the arsehole unless you're taking up time and then not buying anything. Then you are a bit of an arsehole. If you're taking up time in the store, talking to people, distracting people away from sales, because they're there to sell things, and then you don't buy anything, you're what's called a time vampire. And you're there just to... You're the kind of guy... If you're that kind of a guy, you're the person who will kill stores. If we get too many of those people in the store, it's dead. It's dead. It's not making any sales. It's now just a youth club, and no one is incentivized to buy anything, because all of those power gamers and those people are going to talk to each other and say, don't get it here, get it on this website for this much cheaper. You don't give the store patronage. One thing I really despised my old manager for, and I hated this about him, is he didn't realise how lucky he was to have... We had a group of lads in our store, you know who you are, called the Demonettes, right? They had a WhatsApp group called the Demonettes anyway. Lovely guys, awesome blokes. They've been in the comments on here a few times. They're absolutely lovely. And they would always give this guy, this Games Workshop store, their patronage. Even if they got something from elsewhere, they would make sure to come into the store and buy models in the store. They kept the fucking lights on, and my manager fucking hated them. He hated them. He would bitch about them, he would moan about them, he would talk behind their backs about things that they've been saying in the store, even if it was just like blind things. He hated them. If he could have got rid of them, he would have done. And by the way, his store would have lost about 25% of its monthly revenue, because they were the ones who were coming in there and buying something every single day. Every day, one of them would get something. Every day one of them was in there, they would buy a White Dwarf, they would buy a box of Intercessors, they would buy a I don't know, right? They'd buy a Storm Raven or something. They would do something. One of them would get something to add to their forces going forward. That was a marketable, milkable cash cow. And it was a cash cow made of really cool gamers who wanted other people to come into the game and have some fun. That's what you want in your store, and he didn't realise how lucky he was to have them there. Now, if you go into a store and you don't buy anything, and you take time away from the staff by talking to them all the time, and you basically just don't add anything to the store, then I can see why a GW manager gets pissed off with you eventually by taking free models out of the store. I can see his point. I can see his point. Okay? But don't let it get to you. Don't let it get to you. If he said it in a way that was joking, and you may have just taken it the wrong way, and you go back in there and say, listen, man, on that free model thing, listen, I've gone through a bit of a rough patch, just getting into a new hobby. You've really helped me do that, so I'd love to give you some patronage, and I've decided on my army. I want an army that does this, 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 and this. Can we take a walk around the store and you can show me one box just to start myself off, right? And he will. He will. And if he tries to upsell you, say, look, I don't want to, I want the box that I wanted. I want a small box. Here is my price range. Go in there with a price range. Say, £50. I have a £50 price range. This is what I want to do. And he will take you around and he will show you some stuff. You will get the stuff and you will be customer of the fucking day. He'll be like, wow, I feel really good because that guy, he came in, he got his free stuff and now he's in the hobby. There's nothing more beautiful to a GW manager than growing the hobby, than somebody coming into your store, getting the hobby infection and leaving. Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. As for the life question, oh boy, there's a more serious one. I have never been great with women. Oh god, here we go. Okay, let me take a sip of tea. No offense, dude, but like it's the end of this. It's the end of the video question, and I'm tired. All right. I have never been that great with women. And cue a load of people clicking off this video. Not another one. Okay. Prior to my recent engagements, I have only ever sexually been involved with 32 women in total. 32? Dude, you're killing it. What are you doing? 32? Jesus Christ. I'm not going to tell you what my number is, but like, you know, I think I've done all right in my lifetime, and you don't see it clearly. So how much mean you've never been great with women? Then again, you can sleep with a lot of women without being very good at keeping women. One that is a bad sign a lot of the time is if you've slept around quite a lot, you've been with a lot of women who have eventually said no to you. That is a thing. But also, you could have just lived a life. Like for me, I was a bartender, you know, I was a teacher. Not with the student, with the mums, for anyone goes there, right? I was a bartender, I was a teacher, I worked at Games Workshop. You come across a lot of MILFs at Games Workshop. You know, if you're in any job where you are basically either serving a woman drinks or whatever, or you are serving them dinner or whatever, or you're around their kids and you're acting like a good dad, or you're taking care of an old person or whatever, something like that, dude, the panties just come off. They just drop. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous, like, because you're showing like you're dependable, you handle your shit, you're good with their kids, you're good with the old people, you've got lots of patience, you're nurturing. There's nothing sexier, man, than a man who's like strong and got his own job, doing very well for himself, but also has those nurturing aspects. Mate, don't even get me started. So yeah, that's why my number's around there. But I don't know what you've been doing the rest of your life. Jesus Christ, dude, you're not doing badly at all. Most of them being one-night stands. Okay, here we go. Roughly 20 of them. Okay. I did not use protection with most of these women. Dude, what are you doing? I wanted to pause here and tell your audience to use protection when meeting with women. Yes. Stop and think. Yes. I didn't get any diseases from this point of my reckless and stupid youth, but I very, very well could have. Take your health seriously, even if you're young and depressed. I realise that 32 is a very low body count. No, it's not. But it only takes one to catch something. What do you mean 32 is low? It's not low. Dude, okay. For everybody in my life, apart from one person, and I'll let you figure out who that is, 32 is more than they've slept with, by multiple degrees. Alright, 32 is not a low body count. Don't be silly. Do not be silly. Anyway, I was a bit of a late bloomer. Lost my virginity late into my teens. This put me in a dating bubble with other late bloomers, meaning I had been with 3 to 4 women who were virgins well into their 20s. Some of these encounters have been awkward, as you can probably imagine. In one instance, a girl brought her best friend for safety, which led to the virgin girl and I in a hotel room being watched in a corner by a much more experienced best friend, who frequently made sure I was wearing a condom through position changes. That's... oh... There's always one. There's always one. Am I a degenerate? That sounds like a threesome in the making. I don't know. Let me just check that's on there. Oh yeah, check all you like. Yeah, fair enough. Might need to wangle it around to make sure it stays like that. No, sorry. I know, disgusting. Disgusting. That's me slapping my own wrist. Sorry. Alright, when I met my fiance, I started getting serious with my relationships. Shit, dude, why are you messaging me? Right? Why are you messaging? You've lived a life, dude. You're not in a... Oh, God. So for most of my life, I've been winging this whole relationship thing. No real plan. Just like the company. Support in life as I worked and finished schooling. I just have a typical worthless bachelor's degree that everybody my age has. And work as a machinist at a production shop. The question is my bachelor party. I don't have any real close friends. As mentioned in the early question, I'm quite a toxic person. What should I do in this situation? Okay, first of all, dude. You need to stop. You need to stop with the self-battering. Okay. I'm seeing a lot of me in you. That might seem like a surprise, but when I was... That's me, by the way. That's not your computer. When I was younger, I was the lad about town, and I got around quite a bit with quite a few different ladies around the local area, around, wherever. Even if I'd go on holiday, I'd end up with somebody for, a holiday romance or whatever. So I never really had any problem doing that. But I was an extremely... I wasn't toxic. I was young, dumb, and full of cum. That's literally what I was, right? I was young and a moron. And listen, if you're a decent-looking bloke, right? If you're a 6 to 10 out of 10, right? And by 6, I mean if you dress up well and you groom well, you could be a 7 or an 8. If you're one of those people, then yeah, you're gonna get attention. Especially if you have a good personality, you're gonna get attention. Especially if you're very confident, you're going to get attention. And it's... when you're younger, it's really, really, really hard to not let that either go to your head or to ruin your life in some really ridiculously stupid way. So, you've dodged many bullets, and I bet you've broken many hearts, and I bet you've got a lot of women out there in your past who don't like you. I'm the same. There are a lot of women out there, from when I was in my teens to when I was in my early to mid 20s, who genuinely hate my guts. Genuinely hate my guts, because I would either walk away, or I would treat them poorly, or I would go out and meet other women and do all sorts, right? It would always be above board. I'd always tell them what I've done, and I'd always tell them, listen, we're not exclusive, but it still broke the heart a little bit, right? So, what I mean to tell you is this: a few months ago, it didn't work out, by the way. It didn't work out at all. But I went to a club night, and I met a girl there who I was seeing when I was like 17, 18, and she was in her 20s when I was seeing her. And I broke her heart in a bad way. We had a really bad breakup. Not for me, I went on to the next person, because I was just that kind of a guy, right? I was a sociopath back then. I just whatever. And I met her at a club night, and I expected a slap in the face, but we got talking. And she ended up saying she was a teacher, and I was like, oh, I'm a teacher too, blah, blah, blah. Before long, we're kissing, and we're talking, we're kissing, and we're talking. I ended up going to see her where she lived. Didn't live in the city anymore, she lived somewhere else. So I ended up going and visiting her a few times, staying the night. We talked the night away, had a really good time, and in the end, we realised, after spending the night a few times, we weren't really for each other anymore. We didn't really work out. We were going in opposite directions in life. both in a positive direction, but like, you know, not in the same direction. So we agreed to stop seeing each other. We still speak now, and I genuinely think if you talk to her now, she'd say, "Oh yeah, he's a great guy. He's a great guy, yeah." Dude, I shattered that girl's world when I was like 18. Absolutely shattered it. She hated my guts. What I'm saying to you is, I think you're being harsh on yourself saying that you're a toxic person. I think you're equating your past behaviour when you're listening to your balls as who you actually are as a person. And I don't think that's who you are. If you were this much of a dickhead, you wouldn't be writing in to ask me whether you're toxic or whether you're behaving properly. You want to change, you want to get better, and that's a clear sign of somebody who's on the road to chaddom. You are on that road. Okay? And you might even be there already. You just don't recognise it yet. If you have people around you that like you, then fine. If you don't have that many friends, dude, there are many reasons why a guy doesn't have that many friends. I've only got like 3 or 4 friends who are in the inner circle. Everybody else, they're acquaintances. I have 3 or 4 friends, that's it. That's it. Maybe 3. Yeah, 3 male friends I have who are in the inner circle. 3. That's it. And even they annoy me. You know what I mean? Sometimes. I've got 3. So I've got 3, you've got, what, 1? Maybe. So what? So what? Where are you in the world? Go on the Discord and tell people where you are on the world and what you're doing for your stag do. Right? And there will be people who turn up. I'm telling you now. There'll be people who turn up. Because you're a hobby brother, you're here with us now, you're making positive changes in your life. Go on the Discord, tell people where you are, and they will turn up. Because everyone likes a party, and everybody likes a bachelor party, right? Tell them where you're going to be, and they'll turn up. There'll be certain people who might even bring strippers with them, but I'm not going to say who they are. So, as for co-workers, being a machinist is known as a second chance career around here. I'm this nerdy guy that plays Warhammer 40k and Magic the Gathering, who doesn't drink or do drugs. My co-workers are a mixture of felons on a work release program, current or former biker gang members, or we get along in the co-worker sense, but probably not in extracurricular activity sense. As for members of the playgroup, I typically attend events solo and ask for pick-up games, or enter tournaments and allow the tournament organiser to post pairings to play people. So, while they know my face or name, after years of gaming, we aren't close. Well, dude, again, friendship takes work. Friendship takes work, and you need to make sure that you're going and you're putting yourself out there. It's the same thing if you're dating somebody. I wouldn't expect you to be good at dating people if you're not putting yourself out there and actually being a good person who can date. If you go to the amount of dudes I know who go to a club or a pub and they stand there in the corner, and then they come back to me and go, no women like me. It's like, dude, I'm with you, and I see them looking at you. You're not picking up on that? Then learn. Look around. If you get eye contact and she looks at you for a few seconds, puts her hair behind her ear, and then looks away, she's into you. She's into you. Go over and talk to her. You don't get anything by sitting in the corner. Same thing goes for you and friends. Come onto the Discord, let people know where you are, let people know what you're up for, and make sure that you come onto the Friday night group. They're all on there talking every Friday. A few of them have met up already in real life and gone and done things together. Dude, the tools are there. Go on the Discord and talk. You are what I would call a crisis situation. You've got no friends whatsoever. There's no foundation to build off of. Go and build a foundation. Get on the Discord, talk to people. And even in the hobby, dude, if someone's into something and they're doing something cool, tell them, talk to them, have fun. Just have fun. Alright? Alright, cool. Anyway, we're nearly an hour now, so love you a long time. I will speak to you tomorrow for some more. Well, I haven't written the script yet. I've got to do it later on, so it'll be a surprise tomorrow. Love you a long time. Speak to you then. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye.